Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme. If you do get a chance, hit the subscribe button. If you are listening on the podcast, and many people are enjoying the podcast, thank you very much for your support across all the platforms that we broadcast the podcast. And over and above that, YouTube. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, you'll get it all at your fingertips, all the breaking news as well. And you'll get Ali's column on a Monday, which is always good for a read too. And all the unique video content that we've got going there. So PLZ Soccer, not only about the football show, but so much more on our YouTube channel. So thank you to everyone for showing the support. As far as this week's concerned, what about the quiz? It's a good one actually. Here's the question. See if you can give us the answer. Who is now the longest serving Scottish Premiership manager? Based on the fact that, the latest one to go is Callum Davidson. He was sacked by St Johnstone. I'm not having...
You think it is, Ruffy?
I'm not having mutual consent.
What?
Oh, he's asking me.
Do you know who it is?
I think I know who it is.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Not allowed to say it, no?
No. Everybody can say it at the end if you think you know. But if you think you know, then give us your answer on the feed on YouTube. Ruffy's getting... Listen,
I've been through all the teams.
When Ruffy's got that rabbit from Watership down 1,000-yard stare, I know there's nothing in there, so don't worry about it. You don't need to tell me. Who do you think is the longest-serving manager? Give us your thoughts on that. And also, thank you to so many of you for joining us. We have so many regular people who join us on the programme, and we are really indebted to you for becoming part of the football family and sticking with us. So, with that in mind, as well as the quiz, let's get into the meat and bones of the games at the weekend. Well, yesterday's game was just frightening at one point, Ruffy, because I looked at Celtic against Kilmarnock and I thought, this really could be 10, because Celtic, after half an hour, were battering them, and it was just one chance after another hitting the back of the net.
Yeah, it was. I thought the team selection for Derek was a bit odd, playing two strikers. That obviously means you're light in midfield, and if you're light in midfield and the Celtic boys are on form, they're going to run over the top of you, and that's what they did, and you're right, at 4, I'm sure the players on the park and the manager themselves thought this could be 10. The way that the Celtic were playing, obviously, it calmed down a wee bit, and Derek got them organised a wee bit. But in the second half, I thought Celtic just sent on their reserve team.
Yeah.
And
the reserves.
Yeah, and just saw out the game. But I know Derek came out after the game and said, "Oh, we can take something out of the game." Okay, they played a bit better in the second half, but they were poor. But not taking anything away from Celtic. I thought in 25 minutes was just fantastic football to watch. The possession football was fantastic. They've done it all year, the way they were passing about, so comfortable, everybody making themselves acceptable. If anybody was in a tight corner, somebody would make a pass, and they just come out and just trying to get near the ball at all.
Yeah, I think on days like that, when you talk about how exceptional Celtic were, you have a certain amount of sympathy. Fraser Murray just had the game from hell.
Yeah, I think Celtic's forwards can do that to players. I think their movement can be so difficult to track, and I think when they come at you in waves like that, it's entirely difficult to cope with. But I thought he looked particularly vulnerable. I think you would always have a degree of sympathy for anyone caught in that position, but I think Celtic can be rampant when they're in the mood like that for the first 20 minutes, first half an hour. I think you fear the worst for teams, and at times you can fear the worst for individuals if they're being targeted down one particular side of the pitch. If they scent a vulnerability down that area of the pitch, then they're very quick to exploit it.
Yeah, and Ange Postecoglou, no surprise, I think he wanted to talk about that first half display.
Yeah, look, I thought the first half we were, boys were outstanding. Scottish football has played all year in terms of the way we moved the ball, the way we moved ourselves on the pitch, and after last week, a big win. Obviously, you kind of look at where the boys' focus is, but I thought it was important we started with a real good intent today, and I think they did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to wax lyrical about them, because in every department, we were talking about Matt O'Reilly, he scored a double on the day.
Yeah, two great goals, great finishes. I think he's been the one this season who's maybe He's received a little bit of criticism for his performances. I don't think he's been as good lately. I think that's a big bounce back at the weekend there, get a couple of goals. But as Ruffy said, Celtic were superb the first 20-25 minutes. Listen, they were helped by Kilmarnock, who were hopeless. I mean, the boy Murray who got took off had never lost game in his life. You know, the pass back that Kyogo scores, and then he shanks one into the air that breaks, and I think it was O'Reilly that scored. So, and then hooked after 25 minutes. You know, him and Christian Doidge. So, listen, I think Derek would have took 5-0 at that point. You know, it was 3-0, as you say, going on 9 or 10. I think Derek, you know, they get the goal just before half time, and then second half I thought it was just a training exercise for Celtic. I think if they wanted it, they could have been 6 or 7-1, but they just knocked the ball about, and they get bigger fish to fry ahead. So no, I think it was a very, very comfortable win for Celtic, and for Kilmarnock, you know, their goal difference could have took a bigger hammering, and I think they'll be quite happy to get out with that 4-1.
Should it have been a red card for Ruffy?
No, I don't think so. You know, I think he's put his foot up there, but he's not seen the boy coming. He's not deliberately put his foot up to the boy to hit. I think it's happened a couple of occasions this year, and but no, I just thought it was an attempt to get the ball, just a yellow card for me.
Yeah, again, it's a consistency factor that Derek McInnes was talking about.
No, I'm not looking for a red card there, but likewise, Kyle Vassell shouldn't be red carded at Easter Road. So where's the consistency? Where it's, you can see the still of it. It's actually his boots right in Donnelly's face. Now, I don't think that is a red card the same way I thought Liam Donnelly's, Kyle Vassell's wasn't at Easter Road. But VAR are looking at the same instant, so no, it didn't help. Wouldn't have helped anything in the day. But you know, if you're looking for consistency, we're not getting that from VAR. That if Vassell's a red card at Easter Road, that is more or less, maybe even more dangerous.
Alison?
No. Not for me. I thought slightly different, but I agree with Ruffy. I thought he goes to clear the ball. There's no intent. I think a booking was the proper call. I think it's a bit, you know, it's a high foot. I don't think there's any doubt about it, but I don't think there was any intent, and I don't think there was any malice behind it. I don't think it was a red card at all.
Yeah.
I think like Derek there said that the word that a couple of referees have said to me, when they say the incident was the same, the referee says they're never the same. They might be similar, but they're not the same, because every movement is different, every incident is different. So you can't say it's the same as, because you have to look at them all. They might look the same, but there are other ways of looking at it. You know, the foot's higher than the other foot, or it might be late, or maybe he's looking at the boy or whatever. So he's just making a point. You know, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, okay. Now, obviously, Celtic now just 2 wins from the title. I mean, the figures are amazing. 102 goals this season, 30 games from 32. And I think people are looking and starting to compare, which I don't think is quite fair. You know, they're talking about if they win their remaining 7 games, the points total is could be a record, and they are better than some previous title winners. For me, Tam, I think this is take nothing away from Celtic, but I think it's a weaker league this season.
100%. I think it's the weakest league that I've seen in top flight I've seen in about 20 years. It really is. It's poor, Peter, and I'm not taking anything away from Celtic. Listen, they're dominating games, they're scoring lots of goals, they're great to watch, but they're not getting tested. They get tested a couple of games a season off the Rangers, and they're even beating them, and I don't think it's particularly healthy to see a team like that dominating, 30 wins out of 32, 102 goals.
A lot of Celtic fans would say, well, wait a minute, shut up.
It's not their fault. Yeah, it's not their problem.
No, but
I understand
they're
that.
buying season tickets and they're winning, and they're saying, well, why? And I hold my hands up here. Some people have said to me, well, why are you highlighting that? Did you highlight that when Rangers were winning 9 in a row? Well, you know,
it was more competitive back then.
Well, I would say to you that 6 out of the 9 times that Rangers won 9 in a row, 6 of those times where they won the 9 in a row, Aberdeen were their main competitor. Celtic were on their knees financially. But that's the way the league goes, and sometimes I think, if anything, as Tam mentioned there, Alison, we're a little bit insular in our thinking, but right across Europe, I mean, Bayern Munich are 10 in a row. You know, right across Europe, there are super clubs, and then the rest just have to make it up and pick up the scraps. And occasionally, you get an anomaly like St Johnstone win a double.
Yeah, but I would take I take the point that I definitely think it is a weaker league this term. I think that's shown by the fact you have umpteen teams who have gone through desperately difficult points. Aberdeen would be a case in question and can still go and challenge for third. I think that's reflective of the fact that everyone out with Celtic and Rangers, who also had a blip midway through the campaign, has had really difficult points in it. I think the quality has been poor, and again, I don't think that detracts from what Celtic have achieved. I don't think they've done what they set out to do. Their remit is to go out and win every game. They've done that, so I think you would have to laud it. And in any league, I think it's very difficult to show that level of consistency. However, it's to Celtic's benefit that you have a stronger league, because ultimately where they really want to test themselves is in a European environment, and I think to have that edge in Europe, you have to be tested every week. You want to be playing in a very competitive field. That's why I think it's always good. I think Celtic and Rangers need to have a strong opposition all the time between the two of them and between the rest of the league. I think it benefits the team as a whole, it benefits the league as a whole.
Yeah, interestingly enough, and please forgive me for this because I know I'm liable to get caned for it, for the name drop, right? Because I know you'll cane me. But I was speaking to two guys from down south. We were talking about the leagues and the European Super League, Ruffy, which some people think is inevitable. I know Celtic and Rangers would love a European Super League, regardless of their position at the moment, trying to play the politically correct statements. But Les Ferdinand, first one, said he thinks a European Super League is inevitable when you get this situation where clubs need access to revenue. Alan Shearer said to me that he doesn't think it's going to be a European Super League because without the English clubs it just won't happen, and the English clubs are backed by government pressure as well as fan pressure on this situation. I tended to sway more towards Alan Shearer's opinion on it.
Well, we know our two would definitely want to be in it, just because of the financial rewards there. I would think the majority of the English clubs would want to be in it as well, but you would have to wait and see who they're going to attract. But again, the English league is so successful. It depends what they're getting offered. I'm sure they will get offered quite a lot of money, but it'd be really interesting to see how it works, this breakaway, and how you play it and how you still commit yourself to your own league and compete in that league as well.
Yeah, what I would say is, I'm obviously saying about Celtic there, but it's up to Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen to up their game to get closer. It's not Celtic's responsibility, we need to lose a few games to make it more competitive. Hibs, Hearts and Aberdeen have all been poor this season. Yeah. And they've got to up the levels, Peter, because there can't be anything worse than going to a Hearts Rangers game or a Celtic Hibs game and you're getting battered. That's not happened. We always gave them a game. And some of the games this season have been an absolute no contest. Against Aberdeen, Hibs and Hearts, when Old Firm play them, it's been a no contest. It's been a doing. And that can't happen, and that's not Celtic's fault. That's got to be those teams have got to get better, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, Tam, and I also think we've got to work out ways to try and get more money into the game to allow them to expand, to allow them. I'd like to see more and more Scottish players get a chance, but also there's no point in giving them a chance if they're not of a certain standard, Ruffy. So if there's more money there, you can develop the game. You can obviously bring in better quality players to give them a half decent game, and I think we need to find that, although I do think the next couple of years there's going to be a real change in the way football is broadcast, and that might open it up for Celtic and Rangers, but you're going to have to wait and see how it all pans out. But it's certainly going to change away from what I think is traditional satellite dominating, with one or two of them making bids for deals. I think clubs, especially the Premier League, will be at the forefront of changing the way we watch our football, and it's certainly for a younger generation. Interestingly enough, Celtic win it. They're still 12 points ahead, but Rangers on the Saturday. Well, St Mirren gave them a game for about 75 minutes, Ruffy, is what Tam's pointing out there. Mark O'Hara hit two. Just hit two really sweet strikes, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he certainly did. And that one of them was obviously will be a contention for goal of the season. Tremendous ability, and the confidence to do that. He's had a great season. I thought he was a young player of the year, but no, you're not. You're saying he's too old for that. No, he's not.
Did you say young player of the year?
No, I thought he was.
Yeah.
I think, well, what is a young player? 23?
Under 23.
I thought he was running about 23. I thought he was 23.
He's not getting it.
No, he's not getting it because he's
been
not
around.
qualified.
Yeah. but to be fair,
He's had a great season.
He hit two sweet goals, but the difference is, as Tam mentioned, that you can bring on quality, and Rangers can't bring on quality. And they've just Morelos has scored 2 goals. If anything, I think Michael Beale is really putting out this message that it's going to be exciting next year. He's going to build his own team, and I think the Rangers manager is right to point that out, because this is not his side in my view. He's brought in a couple of players, but I'll be interested to see what kind of exciting team Michael Beale tries to build. But when I watched Alfredo Morelos skiting down the grass and giving it this and I'm thinking, it's St Mirren, for God's sake. You know, it's big games that you should have been doing it in earlier in the season as well, to help the manager.
Yeah, I would absolutely 100% agree with that. I think players of Morelos' ilk and of the talent that you've seen at times have to be relied upon for big game performances, and I think that's the difference between Celtic and Rangers this season, where Celtic have got the likes of Kyogo and Callum McGregor who step up. Jota, you can rely upon them when the stage is set for a big game. These are the guys that turn up and produce the goods. I think on the opposite side, I just think Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos have been conspicuous by their absence at times in that kind of environment, and I think that's the difference. I think that's the key, and you know, with no disrespect to St Mirren, Alfredo Morelos needs to be doing it on a bigger stage. Yeah,
and of course Rangers lost 2 goals to St Mirren through the aforementioned Mark O'Hara, and I don't think the Rangers manager was too happy with the way they defended the goals.
I was really annoyed with the first goal. We take nothing away from the boy, O'Hara. It was a fantastic strike. But if you rewind back, we've got a 4v3 in the attack. We're very wasteful in that moment, and our reaction was dreadful from everybody. From Todd after shooting, from the reaction of people running back, the back four drop off. There's a cross ball, crossfield ball. We don't get out to it. A cross, another cross. And it's a horror show for us. So I told them that at half time, and I expected us to come out and be better second half. We came, we scored again, and then you're thinking, okay, we'll settle down and go again. We let in another sloppy goal, and then it's the changes from the side, it's the change of shape, it's the changes from the side that go on to win us the game.
Yeah, he made those changes, and they did come on and make a significant difference to the outcome of the game. And again, I try and read out as many points as possible from people on our YouTube feed, sensible ones. Martin Torrens makes a very good point that I think is worthy of your comment, Tam. Peter, Alfredo Morelos is our European top goal scorer. Let's see if Kyogo can score in Europe next season.
Yeah, it's a valid point. I mean, I get where you're coming from. You know, he's not a great season, Morelos, for me. He's not a great season, and I don't understand he's giving it the shush to the Rangers fans. Would they giving them abuse or stick? I wasn't at the game, but I don't think they would be. I think he's been a great servant, but yeah, he's got to do it in a bigger. He's done it at a bigger stage for Rangers, but that's in the past. You know, this season he's been poor, and he's going to be on his way in the summer. But I think overall he's been a great signing. But you know, Martin does make a good point there. He has, in the past, you know, in the last couple of seasons, been very good in Europe, but this season he's let the club and the manager down, in my opinion. Yeah, and it goes back to the point that I always consistently make on this programme. It's almost as if when you're talking, it doesn't matter whether it's a radio show or whether it's TV, or indeed the members of the written press, Alison, looking at it, the league falls into 2 halves. You know, you can wax lyrical about Kyogo scoring or Alfredo Morelos scoring against the likes of St Mirren and Kilmarnock, but I always think the really critical point, and this is where we become more critical, is August to December, where you look at them coming up against quality sides and saying, okay, can you take your chances? Can you score Kyogo, as I think Martin was right to point out there? Can you score in big games? Maeda, can you score 6 yards out against Real Madrid in the first 60 minutes of that match? And it's the polar opposite opinion by the time you get into the second half of the season and there's no European football.
Yeah, absolutely, and Celtic's inability to finish chances really cost them in their European campaign this season. I think there were games where they gave a decent account of themselves. That first half at home against Real Madrid, but just a failure to to be able to be clinical in front of goal. I think that would be the lesson that they would need to take next season. If you're going into that kind of environment, then you need the same sharpness that you show in a domestic sense, because the mistakes are punished in a way that they're not domestically. They don't get away with any sloppiness at all defensively or in the middle of the park, whereas at times I think, as you've seen in the league, they can afford to make a mistake and still go on and win the game. That just doesn't happen in a European sense.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Ruffy, I mean, it's not just Celtic. I mean, Liverpool were 2-0 up against Real Madrid, dismantled, and last week I watched Chelsea, huff and puff, and then Real Madrid just waited, picked their moment, and then thought, okay, we're 1-0 up, we'll wait, we'll get another chance, bang, it's in the back of the net. You need that level of, you're getting few chances, they've got to be taken.
Yeah, they certainly have, but I can't see any difference in Celtic next year, with the same players they've got. I can't see...
Well, they're going to buy some, aren't they?
Well, up front.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we'll have to wait and see who that is then. But what kind of quality are we talking about? I don't think they've got the quality to go into a Champions League game against the likes of the bigger sides and got a striker that you can guarantee, if it's nothing else, they're going to score a goal.
Well, I don't think you can guarantee. What I think...
It costs too much money to get one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Celtic to buy one of them ready-made Champions League strikers, 50 million.
Absolutely, but what I think is the key to element of Michael Beale and Ange Postecoglou, and to a lesser extent some other managers, is your remit is try and get that nugget that you can make a better player, because you realise the level you're operating at. And I think that's where Ange Postecoglou is looking at Celtic and saying, okay, we're not going to be able to get that £50 million player, but we might get somebody who's going through that period where he's on the way up. You get an Edouard, you get a Moussa Dembele, and you get them in, and for that 1 to 2 year period you make them a better player, and they take chances and get you the odd scalp. That's what he's hoping for.
I think O's probably that, they're thinking that he could be that player. They bring in a young player from abroad. You think he's looked good in flashes. Kyogo, listen, he can't drop Kyogo at the minute, he's undroppable, keeps banging goals in. But I think going forward, could be that guy if he gets opportunities and gets minutes.
But what a job Michael Beale's got, because he's got Sakala there. Roof is injured all the time, but he's got Sakala, who will be there next season. The rest of them are gone. Kent, Morelos is gone. He's got to look for, Cholak will be there, so he's got to look for...
Scott Wright will be... I think, honestly, the only one that'll be there is Sakala.
You think Cholak will go?
For me, Cholak's not a Champions League striker. He's a good player. He's scored 20 goals in the Scottish Premiership, 25 goals. Do I think he's better than that? No. So I think if you're Rangers and you want to get... There's a gap between Rangers and Celtic, and I think if Rangers want to bridge that, they need a better player than Cholak.
Yeah, but they need players. Well, that's my point, and my point is they need players who are better than Cholak, but also players that take no time to settle in and can get them from a qualifier into the group stages of the Champions League.
That's incredibly difficult to do, even if you spend money, even if you go and throw money at it, which Rangers I don't think have, or any Scottish team doesn't really have a massive budget to go and say we're going to go and buy someone who's proven and bring them in, because I think any signing is a gamble when you're coming from one league to another, and I think in particular when you're playing very weighted games at the start of the season, when you're playing qualifiers at the very opening end of a campaign before the team's properly bedded in, before players are properly bedded in, and you're saying, so much rides on these games, and I think they can set the tone for a full season. They can definitely leave a hangover if you don't get in through the qualifiers. I think it can take a bit of time just to recover. I think they're incredibly high pressure games at a time before your team is properly gelled and settled.
Yeah, Ronnie Porter, who's a Rangers fan, says, Peter, let's be honest, Morelos does flatter to deceive. Yes, he scored 2 good goals, but apart from that, he's done nothing in the past few games except jog all over the pitch. Listen, I think it'll be interesting to see the type of player that they sign. The opposition make a game of it. You can't fault St Mirren. They were there at Ibrox, scored 2 goals, made a go of it. Certainly you can't accuse St Mirren of sitting in there. They made a go of it when they had possession of the ball and come up with 2 good goals. And I think Stephen Robinson, you can tell by his answer at the end of the game that he wants his side to be more competitive, especially against the big guns.
There's an honest group of boys that know that we could have performed better today, and there'll be some Mirren fans say, well, we've had a go and we're unlucky and that, but we don't work like that. We come here to try and win. as you've seen, with numerous, I think 2 or 3 really good chances in 1v2 situations where we didn't make the right pass in the first half, and we're in a good position, but ultimately couldn't see it through.
I think St Mirren fans are happy, Ruffy, with what Stephen Robinson's produced for his side this season.
Not only the St Mirren fans, but I think we're all happy as well. We all want to see teams going to Parkhead and Ibrox and having a go. We don't want to see teams parking the bus, spoiling the game, and then obviously when the 2 big teams score, they've got nothing else to offer, and I just think that they've been a breath of fresh air this year, whereas the other ones we're talking about haven't, and the other ones have got possibly better quality than the players at St Mirren, but the St Mirren boys have stood up, and I really hope they get something out of the game next week. I think they deserve to be in that top 6.
I think they're the only team in the top 6 round about that's not went on a really bad run.
Yeah.
I think they've been quite consistent. Okay, they've maybe lost a couple of games, but they've bounced back, Alison. They've maybe lost a couple or whatever, then they've got a draw or a win. They've not went 5, 6, 7 like other clubs without a win, and they've been quite steady all season. I think they deserve to win the top 6, and I think looking at the fixtures,
it's tight, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got a 2-point gap between Hibs and Livingston. I don't think Hibs and Livingston will both win to overtake them. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll get in the top 6.
Yeah, Ali, do you share that view?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Livingston are away to Dundee United, who seem to be.
I was going to say Livingston are away to Tannadice, fighting for their lives. You would think they would take something from that game, and
St
then
Mirren at home to Kilmarnock.
Yeah, they've took 2 points away from them all season.
Is that why you're going to that game?
No, I go wherever I'm told.
Yeah,
Peter.
absolutely.
I don't get to pick my games.
Yep, absolutely. Well, but you've got one of the games
like some divas in the department.
They do a sterling job when they're out there, to be perfectly honest with you. Okay, Ali, this is really where you and I kind of take a back seat and just let these 2 wallow in at Hibs winning the Edinburgh Derby.
I'm waiting for it, Peter. Come on,
fire it.
Want to hear about it?
Yeah, Ruffy, are you happy with it? I mean, by the way, never mind the goal. The sunshine in Leith was absolutely incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't there when I played with Hibs. It wasn't something.
Did you never won a derby?
Yeah, but we beat other teams. You could have played it. Just put it on the record. Take the needle.
To be fair, when you played for Hibs, the Proclaimers were at high school.
Were they?
Camp your Jets. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what other songs did we play way back then? There must have been one of the
Bachelors.
One of the Chuchtery songs or something.
It was the Drifters. What year were you at Hibs?
Yeah, I was at Hibs from 82 to 86 or
86. So you can't actually all go mental to Soft Cell's Tainted Love, can you?
As Tom said, I never got a chance.
Yeah.
I never got the chance to. Usually, the final was.
Well, do you know what it was?
Just bow your head and keep walking.
I just remember what it was. It was Hector Mickle.
That's right.
High B, High Bernie. That's exactly what it was. Yeah. So, but listen. You've got a chance. You've got a chance now to talk about it. Do they deserve the win?
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah,
there's a good goal as well to win the game. And I thought Hearts had a couple of chances, here and there, but I think at the end of the day, Hibs deserved it. I mean, it's horrible being in the end. Was it 9 games without winning? And I know you get it in Glasgow, but when you're in Edinburgh, you just get it rubbed in your face. Not for all that time. It's not any different. You've still got to deal with it. So winning the game takes the pressure off, and it means you can walk about. You know.
I think a lot of Hibbies will be happy today, but I have to say to you, Tam, the quality was poor.
I don't think it was that poor, Peter. I think it's a derby game. Listen, it's not going to be free-flowing football. People are not going to be able to take 2 and 3 touches and play with delicate passes. It was 100 mile an hour.
Did anybody take 3 touches?
I don't think it was. I've seen worse games. I've seen worse derbies.
Hey, when I was a reporter at Radio 4th, I went through a period where there was nils, 5 or 6 of them. It was unbelievable, and there was good players in each team.
Yeah, but no, back to Hibs. Listen, I think they thoroughly deserved to win it. Lee Johnson was under a lot of pressure. I said it last week in my column. I thought he had to win the game. They've got to get in the top 6, or I think he was out the door. That gives them a bit of credit in the bank, but he's got 1 more game left. It doesn't matter if they beat Hearts and they get beat next week against St Johnstone and they finish outside the top 6. They've got to finish the job next week, and if they do that, 3rd place is still within their grasp. I thought Joe Nouble, absolutely outstanding, brilliant performance. Paul Hanlon. A lot of Hibs fans don't rate Paul Hanlon, which I find incredible. I don't think you'll get a better left-sided centre back, for Hibs you know, in Scotland. I think he's brilliant within their price bracket. I think he's tremendous. Lewis Stevenson, Kevin Nisbet led the line well, took his goal well. The sunshine on Leith at the end, and I thought they totally deserved the win. And I thought Hearts were poor, Peter.
Yeah.
I thought Hearts were really, really poor, and was that 5 straight defeats in the league? They are absolutely bottling third place. They're throwing it away, and they're throwing that money away as well. You know, they've got to turn it around and quickly, or else Aberdeen are going to go and nick that money.
Yeah, you might have get emotional at Sunshine and Leith. So did the Hibs manager.
It's good. I had a lump in my throat, and like I say, a tear in the eye, because you know, you work hard and the boys work hard, and you know, you just want to give back. And I felt like when that song comes out, it means everybody's happy. And certainly the fan base deserved that. You know, we've let them down a couple of times this year, probably a few too many times. Just when that bond starts to get created between players and staff and fan base, we fell a bit short. So we're building this, and that is a big win for us, I think, in that sense, to be able to build the connection and the trust, if you like, between the fan base and staff. And you see how powerful that is when everybody's unified.
Can I just say quickly about him?
Yeah.
See, when the Hibs team was announced on social media, it would get absolutely slaughtered. Do you want to see the comments on the Hibs social media when they put the team out? Because it was relatively negative with 3 sitting midfield players, but I thought he got his team and his tactics spot on. I've been a wee bit critical of Lee Johnson, so I've got to give him credit where it's due. I thought he got his tactics, his team absolutely spot on.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think that's the key element of the programme, that if we're critical of certain aspects of a manager or a player, it's only right and proper that you give them the credit when they get it right. It ended a run of 4 consecutive defeats for Hibs. It was a vital one. It keeps them in the mix, keeps them in the hunt. For Hearts, it's 6 consecutive defeats, 5 in the League One and the Cup, obviously.
It's dreadful. It's been they just look like a team in freefall over the last couple of weeks. I think I expected them to have a bit more fight at Easter Road. I thought they would have offered a bit more. I like Stephen Naismith. I liked him as a player. I like him as a coach. I thought that there would have been a reaction from them. I thought after a manager going in a run of results and losing quite a high profile player, I thought there would have been just some kind of bounce coming into that game.
Well, let me pick you up on that, by the way. A high profile player goes out the door. Now, I like Stephen Naismith. I just wonder if it was towing the party line on Robert Snodgrass being let go before the end of the season. You know, there's all sorts of rumours and gossip that goes about. But Robert Snodgrass, for me, every time I watched Hibs, Hearts, I thought he was a standout player, because you know, he kept it simple. He could move the ball. He could take it off the back four, and then he managed to link the play. I was gobsmacked when I heard Stephen Naismith saying they just decided to let him go. All I'm hearing in the background is that there's not a happy camp in that dressing room, and that is basically what prompted his departure. Because for me, he was one of the better players.
It's interesting. I was at Rugby Park a couple of weeks ago when Robert Snodgrass came in to speak to us after Hearts lost to Kilmarnock, and he didn't say a huge amount, but he came in and he spoke at length, and he hinted about maybe not everyone in the dressing room given as much as he thought that they should be. But the really interesting part for me was as he walked off the small stage where managers and players sit, he said, "There's your headlines for you for tomorrow." Now, it didn't seem particularly sensational, but when you frame that in what has happened since then, I just think it maybe pointed to the fact that he was maybe fairly clear in telling people that they weren't up to scratch and it wasn't at the standard expected. I don't know. I would stress it's a purely personal opinion, and it's all I'm giving as an opinion, not based on fact in any way, but I found it an odd call for such an experienced player at a point when Hearts are desperate for points and desperate, and the money between third and fourth is huge. It's not an insignificant amount of money. It's massive, and then obviously what it gives you access to and what it can do to bolster further finances. I think I thought it was. I was taken aback by it. I'm not sure if it was Stephen Naismith's decision or if it came from a higher entity.
Yeah, I mean, Ruffy, I think he's one of the better players. For me, in the middle of the park, you know, when you look at the contribution of others, I think he's the best player.
Yeah, I think you're right when you say when he came in he was good. I think the last 3 or 4 games he's maybe not been as good. I don't think that's got anything to do with it. I definitely think I agree with both of you. There's something going on behind the scenes. You don't all of a sudden promote Stephen Naismith to the manager and then sack probably your most experienced player. So you have to.
So unusual for any player
You have
to leave
to
a
think
club.
Stephen Naismith getting his first chance in a manager. Right, what am I going to do? I'm going to get rid of him. Why are you getting rid of him? And that's the question, you know. So something's happened as Alisson's maybe upstairs, something in the dressing room, somebody said something, maybe Nazy's maybe heard something that he said or whatever. But it's all speculation now because he is a good player, but they've made the decision. It might be wages as well. I don't know what he's on. All these things come in. It just seems so strange that it was so quick. For him to be as a manager and then get rid of him.
Forget about the money. Stick with the line that Alisson just mentioned there. That's
it doesn't reflect well, I don't think, on Robert Snodgrass either, because it looks as if he's the scapegoat for the recent run of bad performances. It looks as if it's his fault, and it looks as if he's possibly a bad egg. I don't think he is a bad egg. Robert Snodgrass in his whole career, I've never heard anybody say out of turn he's a bad egg or he's this, he's that, he's put the highest level. But that's what it projects, that's what it looks like from outsiders who are just looking in. Think, well, why is he getting rid of him straight away?
Well, if suddenly he goes and you've got other players who come in, they've got to make an impression. But according to Stephen Naismith, it was just the same old Hearts.
I wouldn't say it's confident, I would say it's different. The way we're trying to do things is different to what has been getting done. But inevitably with this short period of time, there's going to be moments in the games the players revert back to what is the norm, has been the norm. But in the good moments, it was really good. We get through and we play. How we gain control at the start, happy with. Just small detail. It sounds like a small detail, but it plays a big part in the game.
Yeah, so the bragging rights are almost certainly for the High Bees. Good result, 1-0 win in the Derby. Give us your thoughts on that. Where do you think they'll finish in the league once we get past the split and beyond to the end of the season? As Alisson rightly points out, every point is a prisoner financially as you get towards the end of the season. And I can't tell you, give us your thoughts on who you think is going to be Player of the Year, because all the players have got their cards out there, they'll be voting. I know these two characters said that when they were getting their Player of the Year vote, they wouldn't vote for players that played for one of their greatest rivals. It does get as petty as that sometimes, I have to tell you, because it's only human nature. Who's your vote for Player of the Year? Give us your thoughts on that. Anyway, Gregor says Peter's petrified to criticise Snodgrass.
I'll agree with Gregor.
Gregor, there's Tam agrees with you. Gregor, your head's in the clouds again. You only have to go to games. I go to games, Ruffy, and I watch, and you know it's like I will watch midfielders non-stop to see who can do it.
It doesn't even have to be the best player. He's been brought there to influence the dressing room and be in the dressing room for younger players to learn off him, and even in the training and whatever he's doing about the place. So that's another reason why he was there. That's why it's so strange when things are going horribly wrong that you would let somebody like that with that much experience leave. You know, so that's why we're now all surmising it must have been something else. Yeah, it is. Unrest. That's all I'm saying to you. Ross County 0, Aberdeen 1 from the Friday. If we're talking about the nightmare that is Hearts, the flip side is Barry Robson, who probably wouldn't be able to get 50 feet down Union Street without having to sign 300 autographs. He's transformed them, and helped by Duke, who just keeps scoring goals. Yeah, I don't think they'll keep Duke. I think they'll make a tidy profit on him come the end of the season, but what you'd have to say is that he's given a fairly sterling addition if he wants that job on a full-time basis now, and I think if Aberdeen take third, which I now think looks increasingly likely, then I think that'll be his job. Yeah, and fair play to him, by the way, because he certainly was not in the running, and certainly from the discussions of the board, and Alan Burrows was going to come on and have an influence trophy. I think they were looking at other candidates, and suddenly he just propelled himself to the front. Yeah, and whatever he's doing, we know what he's doing on the park, but if he's doing the right things off the park, You know, that can influence as well. You know, if the players will obviously buy into everything he's doing in training because they're winning games at the weekend, and that'd be good as well, because I would like to think at the end of the day the board have got another decision to make. Obviously, we haven't been so successful. They know the two candidates they've interviewed. They'll obviously have to bounce off, you know, what he's done and what they could bring to the club. But so far, I think he's in number one position, you know, particularly the way they're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no other candidates at this stage.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
No. Barry Robson's getting just continues the way he's going. You know, the transformation in that team has been absolutely incredible. You know, I've seen them against Hibs, you know, 5-6-0. You know, and I watched them against Ross County the other night. They're so solid at the back. You talk about Duke's goals, but his work rate, he was getting back and defending. A team player, they're all playing for the team. You know, they're all chasing and running and putting tackles in. Some a little bit harder than others with Shinnie. But what a transformation Barry Robson has done at that team, because that is basically a lot of the same squad of players.
Yeah, I didn't think Shinnie was going to win his appeal, do you?
Has he not won it?
No, he's not going for it. I don't think he's going to go for it.
They are appealing it, but I don't think he'll win it. I think that's a red card in the current rules and regulations. I said it straight after the game, actually. Personally, I think it's a good tackle 25 years ago, but I don't think you'll get away with that now with VAR. I think they'll look at the height and the speed, and you'll get a red card for it.
And on the flip side of it all, Ross County certainly bottom of the table. We thought they might get out of it. Jan the Staggy dropped me an email today, Ruffy, and said basically, can you tell Ruffy to rip into us and absolutely batter us, because that means that we'll get away from the relegation place. But I keep looking at Ross County and thinking something's going to kick in, Alison, but it's not.
No, and you're getting to a point in the season where it starts to become particularly nervous, and I think that lends an extra weight to games too, when you're playing really with the noise of the clock ticking loudly in the background. I think it starts to have a real effect on performances. It becomes a test of your mental strength as much as anything else. I still think there's three in the mix. I think Ross County, Kilmarnock and Dundee United are all still in there. St Johnstone could still get dragged into it. I think they should be fine, but they're another team that
still need another maybe a win or two. Just to St Johnstone, to make sure.
They look poor. They've got so little about them that you could see them being sucked into it. But essentially, I think it's that bottom three. I think will vie for the bottom spot.
Well, St Johnstone are 25-1 to finish bottom.
Yeah.
I had a couple of quid in it yesterday.
Did you?
I don't think they won't finish.
I don't think they're out. They're 5 points behind. I thought that was too big a price, 25-1.
You just decided?
I just had a couple of quid on it. I just think. Listen, I think when they go, you're talking to somebody that's experienced relegation on a regular basis.
That's a good point, actually.
And when you go into that bottom section, you're playing against all the other teams. You need to win a game or don't get beat. You know, and they're in a run now where can you see them beating a Dundee United or in a big game? Not really, but I just think it was too big a price.
Okay, fantastic. Just out of curiosity, did the bookies take odds on you how many steps it takes your wife to get to the kitchen?
No.
I'm just wondering, by the way, you see, he bets on everything, doesn't he? How many steps is that fly going to take before it eventually jumps away?
25-1, it's a small fiver.
Would you have had 2 quid on St Johnstone at 25-1? Not a chance.
Ruffy, what do you think?
Yeah.
They won't be last.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means I've got a chance.
Okay. So, we'll wait and we'll see. Apart from anything else, I'm looking at Motherwell Dundee United. We've been talking about how bad Aberdeen were when Jim Goodwin was there, and now the revival continues.
Absolutely extraordinary. Well, I think they badly needed it, but I think they rode their luck at times. I think Motherwell could have finished that game off. They had enough chances to go and finish it off, and then they let Dundee United come back into it. But it's a massive win for Jim Goodwin. I think it it gives them a reprieve. I think they were my favourite to finish bottom. I thought I didn't see them getting a result at the weekend. I thought Motherwell would win, as a predictor will show. But I think it just makes it very interesting. I think all eyes now are really on the bottom half of the table, because that's where all the intrigue is over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's an old statement that used to be in the musicals, Ruffy, that Jim Goodwin is about to mention right now. It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
You know, it's not about how you start a race, it's about how you finish it. And if we can finish this league campaign on a positive note, continue on the good run of form that we're on, then, you know, we could take ourselves completely out of this drop zone, if you like. We don't want to be involved in the playoffs in the summer. So listen, there's still a hell of a lot of football to be played. We're not going to get carried away. We don't think for 1 minute that we're safe. We'll be back to work on Monday, and we'll be working just as hard as what we've done in the recent weeks.
Dundee United against Livingston is a winnable one at Tannadice.
Yeah, and if they keep getting penalties, in every game, that'll help them along.
Should have 2 penalties.
Nah.
You're not having it, Ruffy?
Ruffy, you are joking. You don't think the Steve Fletcher penalties?
No, I think he dived into the goalie.
But the second one?
The goalie did catch him with the one. He'd lost the ball. He kicked it away and he went, there's a...
The goalie comes out and doesn't get the ball, Peter, Ruffy.
Did he get the ball? Would he have got the ball and put it in the net?
He nicks it by the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper
it's going out the park.
And
then he goes, there's a hand there, I'll just put my foot in there.
I thought it should have 2 penalties.
They're all at it.
Absolutely. And then the great thing about it, Ali, that's a goalkeeper arguing with a striker.
That's exactly
you don't get any better than that. But I've got a sneaky feeling that they might just get out of it and then leave it to Ross County and Kilmarnock.
Although Livingston have got something to play for as well. I think top 6 is realistically probably gone for them, but they want to win it. The last thing they want to do is drop points and then see that someone else, like Hibs, have dropped points and they never managed to capitalise on it. And Livingston, I thought, were great at the weekend, played particularly well against St Johnstone. So it's not a given, I think. But I think if they get another positive result, you start to build a wee bit of momentum just going into the very fraught split.
Yeah, I think that's one maybe at half time. If Livingston boys come in and Hibs are 2-0 up, I think they would, not down tools, but I think they would realise it was gone. I think you'd find Dundee probably win the game, but if Livingston are maybe up and they come in and Hibs are getting beat or drawn, I think it's just one of the ones.
Yeah, well,
at half time, if you get still something to play for.
If Livingston get top 6, it is a tremendous achievement by a manager with a budget that's way below some of the other teams around him. It's incredible. And Hibs, I think when you look at it, out of all the teams that are in the top area there, probably I think St Mirren have just confounded everybody.
Yeah, and again, firmly punching above their weight in a financial sense. When you look at the budget that they've got, there are teams round about them and teams beneath them with far healthier resources. I think he's done a fantastic job there.
Yeah, and let's not forget, the managers that have been sacked down through the last few months, chairman and chief executives have started to panic and wonder if they're heading towards the championship. They've taken evasive action. Some of us have questioned the action. I don't think too many people were questioning Stephen Hamill going because they just couldn't get a trick out of Motherwell, but Stuart Kettlewell managed to do that. It looked as if they were on their way to 3 points when Kevin Van Veen scored, but then it just seemed to come apart, according to the Motherwell manager.
We didn't feel as if we got close enough to our opponent at times, and there could be a number of factors for that. But in saying that, when you're 1-0 up and you start the second half well, I expect us to win the game. I genuinely expect us to win the game, and I felt we were the architects of our own downfall in stages. Just by being loose in possession and making a couple of poor choices. And I just felt that built a little bit of belief and momentum for Dundee United. And they capitalise on it, obviously, they get their couple of goals.
Yeah, absolutely. But Motherwell, I think with everybody on here, unless somebody's going to tell me different, are more than safe for this season. I don't think there's any drop from there. They've got enough of a cushion. Livingston to St Johnstone prompted the sacking of Callum Davidson. I must admit, I found the whole thing strange. Here's what Steve Brown had to say on the sacking, because he's still in charge at this moment, unless, of course, a consortium comes in to buy St Johnstone. We had an open and honest conversation, and we both agreed that we must do what is right for St Johnstone. We must always put our football club first. Callum has been a brilliant manager for St Johnstone and led us to that cup double in 2021 and then European football, but we feel results haven't been good enough in recent weeks, and it's best for the football club to make a change at this stage. I'd like to thank Callum for his service and dedication to us and wish him every success in the future. He's a St Johnstone legend and always will be. Was it the right call?
Yes, I think it was, Peter. I think maybe a lot of people from the outside looking in just think, he won 2 trophies with St Johnstone, which was fabulous, fantastic, never be repeated probably by any club outside Celtic Rangers, but I think over the course of the last 18 months, St Johnstone have been really poor. They stayed up, was it last season, in the playoffs against Inverness. This season, they're sinking, like a stone towards the bottom of the league. You know, they're not winning game, they're playing poorly. You know, I know a couple of St Johnstone fans, the football that's on show is poor. They're just in a really, really bad run at the minute, and I know you have credit in the bank, but you can't have credit in the bank forever. You know, you get credit in the bank maybe for last season where they were poor and they survived. This season, you know, they started okay, St Johnstone, but I think over the last, you know, 6 months they've been really, really poor. So I think it's the right call. I think Callum Davidson is a very good manager. I think he'll go to another club and do well, but I think it's the right call for St Johnstone.
Yeah, I don't think I can argue with him, Alison's 2 wins in the last 6 months.
Yeah, it's been desperate. And the football's poor. They struggle for goals. They're a really turgid team to watch. Now it becomes about just ensuring that they stay in the top flight. I think you make a change just to avoid being sucked into that bottom 3 that we just spoke about. I think they need something. I think, and any manager coming in then has a bit of time to work with the players before going into a fresh campaign. And of course, Ruffy, it's always good when you've got professionals who work at the games for you, and when technology lets them down, they just go out and they graft. They graft because they know the managers and players, and they can pull in a favour here and there. And Alison was able to do that because we had a wee chat with David Martindale. Well done to you, Ali. David, failed? Just a slight technical hitch, but Alison was not in any way
stuff you've got.
Well, not in any way flustered by it, because she is never disloyal to the team she works for. And she just went out and got David Martindale, and he thinks that Joel Nouble, who scored at the weekend, is good enough to play for either half of the Old Firm.
I think we've got to enjoy Joel while we've got him, because if Joel's playing his football at Livingston next year, I'll be very, very surprised. I think he's a fantastic talent. I'd love to see him go to a big club in Scotland in terms of maybe one of the Old Firm. But people probably look down on that, if I'm honest. But I think he can go and play in the English Championship, no problem at all. And I think there's more to Joel. I genuinely believe there's more to Joel. So I'd really like to see Joel get down the road, get playing his football in the English Champ, because do you know what, it'd be incredible to see him take his career and see it kick on. He's been brilliant.
Some Livingston fans might be slightly miffed that he's saying he's good enough to go in the summer when he's still got a year, but at the end of the day...
Not at all. I think if you can cash in on one of your assets and you take it, and then you've got an opportunity to redistribute those finances throughout your team and enhance the strength of your side, I think it makes sense. I think that's a better option than letting him run his contract down and then you don't get anything for him. Yeah, okay, here's how the Premiership table looks. You can give us your thoughts on it all. Ross County at the foot of the table, Kilmarnock just a point above them with Dundee United, who is going down, who's going to be in the playoff, and can they see off whatever is taking the playoff position in the Championship on. St Johnstone, is that enough of a cushion? Tam McManus certainly doesn't think it is. Motherwell in 36 points, and then Livingston battling it out for the top 6, only a point behind Hibernian as we go down to the wire for those final set of fixtures at the weekend. Certainly looking forward to it, and Tam and myself will be in the studio on Saturday bringing you the half-time and full-time reports from the games and managers and players' reaction. Let's have a look at the Predictor. It was a strange old weekend, to be honest with you. Ruffy, you're on 287, Tam's on 279, I'm on 271, so I think it's fair to say that of the top 3, Ruffy, it's all up for grabs. A 21-pointer could end up winning you the title and the trophy. Alison's on 261, safe 239 for Tam.
Look at those two jobbers at the bottom.
Well, I was just about to say,
absolute rubbish.
Hugh McDonald get no points at the weekend, didn't he? No points. I mean, just
a Eurovision Song Contest.
He really was Britain in the last decade when everybody was miffed at them. No matter if it was a good song, Britain were getting no points.
How far is he behind?
He's gone. How far is Tam behind you?
No, Tam behind. Hugh, how far is Hugh behind Tam?
It's 16
23 points.
Yeah, he's
23 behind.
he's never going to make that up, Ruffy.
I'm behind you, Ruffy. I'm coming for you.
I think actually in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to declare, and then we can all go out to a restaurant. And
let's get done the end of May or something. Got a wee. Taking the staff as well? Is everybody going? Or is it just us?
He's taking the staff as well, which is fantastic. He's
pockets for whole
Well, no, he's clearly found the dowry somewhere, and he's just opened the box and decided, here we go, gold bullion bars. He'll transfer them over, Ruffy.
Yeah, my biggest worry is when he takes us out. I don't know if you've watched Come Dine With Me. Yeah, there was a Come Dine With Me last night that one of the contestants gave the rest of the people non-alcoholic wine.
Yeah.
See if they would notice. If Hugh tries to pull that one, he's on to plums.
Okay. I don't think he'll do that. Anyway.
Regano.
Yeah, well, you can have the Regano. It's shut. You can sit outside. Where elsewhere? Now, thanks so much to so many of you for your opinions on the Scottish Premiership. We always like a little look at the English Premier League as well, just to say that Arsenal have blown it, Tom.
I feel they have. I really wanted them to win the league this season, Peter, but the last 2 games have been 2-0 up away from home. Not only were they 2-0 up yesterday, they were 2-1 up with a penalty and they missed it. 3-1 up. I think they win the game as well. I think Man City are now big favourites to win it after those 2 results. But if Arsenal go to the Etihad and somehow win the game or draw the game, they're still favourites. But I think all the momentum's with Man City now. Yeah,
absolutely. If it was a downer for Arteta, it was certainly a positive result with West Ham getting a point for David Moyes.
The last thing that we want in our brains is to not have the confidence that after having the possibility to kill the game, don't do it. And that's the next stage. When you are there, you have to do it.
I thought their effort, their character, to come from 2-0 down. We played Thursday night. Arsenal have had a week to prepare. We've only had a day and a half. I think for the boys to come back and show what they've got.
Incredibly, could win a European trophy and escape relegation by the skin of his teeth, David Moyes, and they're already talking about him leaving that club.
Yeah, I think it's just the owners, nobody's got a good word to say about the owners. The owners seem to be just waiting on them failing, but fortunately Davey usually comes up with the goods at the end of the day, and I hope he does it again, because he works so hard down there, and you can see at the end of the game, I thought they were going to win it at the end of the game with a header that just went over the bar. You can see what it means to him, so no, well done to him, he's dragged them away again.
Absolutely. Leeds United, Liverpool tonight, but incidentally we always try and highlight to you that there are indeed so many different features on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and on our website if you want the latest breaking football news. If you download the app, it's all at your fingertips. You can watch the programme as well live on the app, and you can see some of the other content that we have, because we're producing more and more of it for you, and it's going to be bigger and better next year as well. Right now, in this month of all months, certainly coming up, there's plans afoot for the 40th year celebration since Aberdeen won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1983 against Real Madrid. There's 2 big gala dinners, and we brought Alex McLeish into the studio to talk about the run to Gothenburg.
We're up a level again, Real Madrid in the final. But the teams previously, then they were sticky, you know.
Apart from Watershai.
Watershai was, the brilliant home performance, 5-1, and I remember Sir Alex used to invite the old pensioners in to watch training and stuff, and bring them in the back. There was a wee room at the back where he gave them tea and that, and one of them was waiting on me the day after the 5-1, and he said, that away goal could be dodgy.
Well worth watching. Alex McLeish, it's a great tale. I mean, we'd love that to return. Scottish teams out with Celtic and Rangers as well, getting to a European final and winning it.
Yeah, well, that's what Aberdeen fans hang on to. They hang on to things like that happened so long ago, but they think that their team's going to do it again, and that's the hope that they have. And every year they hope that they can get even.
Yeah. I don't think this generation do, Ruffy.
No,
I think they get miffed. I think there's an older generation that talk with great affection about Aberdeen, what they achieved under Fergie. But I think the last couple of generations have just wanted to see a team compete in the league. I don't think they'll get any great European expectations. Or looking back, they didn't sample Fergie's team.
Yeah, I think they know where they are in terms of resources and finances, and just how impossible really that is in a modern sense to achieve. If you go back, those are teams that were, you know, comparable with anything in terms of the Scottish League. Like in terms of resources, they would have been on a fairly even footing with Celtic and Rangers. There wasn't the same financial disparity between clubs. I think now the chasm is just so wide that it's unimaginable to see them compete in a genuine sense in that level. But when you go back, even at just in the early 2000s, when Aberdeen were in the group stages of the Europa League thing back then, and you know, I think people love those nights, like any kind of European nights. You're not going to go on and win it, but it's a chance to test yourself and a chance to savour those occasions.
Alison, the best atmosphere I've witnessed out with Celtic and Rangers this season was Dundee United against AZ Alkmaar when they won 1-0 at Tannadice. It was fantastic, and you just crave those sorts of nights. There's bad news just as we're about to leave, because Gregor says, Peter, I got an invite to the Gothenburg 40th celebrations. I'll see you there. Maybe we can discuss our differences. Hand me those gloves over, will you, Ruffy? That's a blow, isn't it?
What's Adam back as well?
I'll tell you one thing. Well, you can have Adam back, but I'll tell you one thing, Tom. And there's only one difference between me and Gregor at the 40th. I've got the mic, and you know what happens then, don't you?
We've seen that the other night. The mic.
Fantastic.
Ruffy's powers in the front.
Absolutely brilliant. I must say, actually, to Rutherglen Glencairn, the under-17s, we had a great night with them. They were really good too.
Brilliant, great night. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and apart from the disco next door and that wee guy down the front that kept shouting things out, it was good.
Ruffy, you handled it all with your usual aplomb.
I just didn't bother. I know. That all get plums.
That's exactly what it is. Ruffy just blanked everybody. Anyway, hopefully with a bit of luck, you can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. What about the quiz? Do you know the answer? There it is. There.
David Martindale.
Who is now the longest-serving Scottish Premiership manager?
Malky Mackay.
David Martindale. That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, honestly, David Martindale is the longest-serving manager. It's just outrageous. 3 years, 4 months. Don't bite, Ali.
How long he's been there?
3 years, 4 months. And by the way, it's getting silly now, Ruffy, isn't it?
It is getting ridiculous, and now other teams are just looking at the new managers are coming in and seeing how well they're doing, so they think, that'll happen to us, we'll do that. We'll just sack the manager and bring somebody else in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting to see who it's going to be.
Yeah, change days. Anyway, you can hear it here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, our app downloaded if you get a chance, and also on our website you've got all sorts of interesting features that you can read, and of course watch some of our unique video content. Thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Alison and to Tam McManus. Join us tomorrow on the programme when our special guest will be the Dunfermline boss James McPake, who will be in to talk about that return to the Championship. Great to see James again. He was a regular on our programme. I'm really looking forward to it. So from everyone here in PLZ Soccer, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you tomorrow.